Welcome back to Venus Improbable Dream. No, this is not an April Fool's video, there's no jokes included, I already did a video for that earlier. Monday, the beginning of a very daunting week. Yes, the festival is ahead of us. And also, I've recovered from the traumatics from the last episode. It is a new day, a new me, a new month. While I'm fully aware that time is ticking ever closer to the festival, I'm somewhat calmed by the closeness that I managed to enjoy with my parents over the weekend. The note and the emotional moment we shared are still fresh in my mind, in a comforting way. I've eaten dinner at the table with them every night since Friday, and though we hadn't had a whole lot more conversation than we usually would, there's been something different about it, a pleasant and less nervous experience for me. I get the feeling that Friday had marked a new leaf for all of us, drawn on a line under our previous distance and awkwardness around each other, and triggered the beginning of a more open dialogue between us. It's something that I'm looking forward to getting used to, and something I cherish more than ever, now that I have a challenging time waiting for me just around the corner. I'm off now, Mom. Oh, alright, Kakeru. Do you think you could do me a favour when you get to school? This is an unusual request, but it has something to do with the tickets, right? I was thinking last night about how you said that Haruka's parents hadn't bought tickets to the festival yet. I mentioned it in passing when she and Dad has been asking about the performances. It'd be a shame for them to miss out on a chance to see their daughter perform if she goes through with it, and the tickets must have already sold out by now. I was wondering if you'd be able to find out their home phone number for me. Your father and I have been so pleased that you and Haruka have become such good friends, and would love to meet her parents. Indeed, if we have a nice chat with them, we might be able to encourage them to get their tickets before it's too late. That is a fair point, and thoughtful of her to want to make sure that Haruka's parents are there if she does make it to the stage. I'm pretty sure that Haruka herself would be disappointed if she really did manage to perform, but her parents weren't there to see it. However, I'm not sure how this will go over with Haruka. She might see it as a fruitless task for anyone to try to convince her parents to buy tickets, considering that they seem quite sure of the fact that she won't perform due to past events. This time is different! We have Kakeru by her side! I don't think if it'll work, but I can give it a shot anyway. I can ask Haruka today, if you want. Mom smiles a response, nodding enthusiastically. Thanks, Kakeru. I'm sure they come around to the idea of going to the festival eventually. Exactly. Hopefully so. Okay, I'm headed out now. Alright, have a good day. We share a brief moment of relaxed eye contact. Another new step for us in this adventure of growing closer again as mother and son, and then I say my goodbyes and head out of the door. But firstly, the actual arrangement of getting together for lunch. She replies pretty quickly. I was about to ask you that myself. I'll meet you on my floor. It's almost as if we read minds. Lovely. After working through the morning class, Haruka and I have met up as planned, walking down to the field once again, settled on the bench with our lunches on our laps. I was about to say on our top. We share scattered chat as we eat. I give it a few minutes before broaching the subject of her parents, and then bring it up when we hit a lull in the conversation. By the way, my mom asked me about your parents this morning. She looks up from her food curiously, seeming slightly taken aback. Oh really? How so? Well, both of my parents have been going on about how great it is that we made friends. A slightly amused look of knowing spreads across her face, telling me that her parents have probably done something similar. Mum was saying it'd be nice for her and Dad to meet your parents, just to get to know them. She was wondering if you'd be okay giving me their phone number to give to her. Haruka's eyebrows raised slightly. Well, I don't see why not, really. I think my parents have been wanting to meet yours too, but haven't got around to trying to organise anything yet. Also, you know, 'cause it's so near the festival and everything. Her demeanour shifts as the subject of the festival comes up. That event from Friday was still very catastrophic. Her shoulders sagging slightly as her brow wrinkles. It almost caused me to do the same thing, reminded of the terrifying event ahead of us. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you... I don't want it to seem like I'm prying, knowing that it might be a sore subject for her, but I ask regardless, keeping my tone of voice gentle. Yep, sometimes it's the emotion, not the words, that makes the difference. Have they bought any tickets, now that it's closer to the time? Dear, I think that's the answer we got. No, not yet. Oh, that sucks. Wanted to present a potential solution without sounding like I'm meddling. I clear my throat and continue. Well, my mum was wondering about that too. Maybe if they all get talking, then your parents might want to get theirs too. But also as well, even if it comes down to the fact that Haruka won't perform. In a way, it's nice to see Haruka's friend perform. I don't know, offering up a suggestion there, an alternative. She considered for a moment, her eyes wandering across the field. Maybe, I'm not sure. Although, won't the festival be pretty much sold out by now? I don't know how fast the tickets tend to go. She does have a point. Any tickets that are left probably won't be in great seats either. Well, it's still worth a try, I guess. Wouldn't Haruka's parents be pleased to watch their daughter play, even if it's from the back of a room? I'd assume so. Well, we could still try. And to be honest, I think my mum just really wants to meet your parents in general. She's been waffling about it for weeks. Waffling is one word for saying it, for goodness sakes. I try to inject a bit of humour into my voice. And at least some of it reaches Haruka as the corners of her mouth turns up a little. That's sweet of her. I guess I can give you our home number then, if you want. Only if it's okay with you and with your parents. She seems a little hesitant but gets out her phone regardless. It's probably mostly out of being convinced that her parents won't buy tickets, but she still gives me the number, which I save in my phone. So it's alright if I text this to my parents? Yeah, it's fine. Mine will probably be pleasantly surprised by the call, to be honest. Yeah, this is Kakeru's parents. Remember Kakeru? He's a boy which Haruka's made friends with. Okay, thanks. Once to get it done before I forget, compose a message to Mom and copy the number into it before sending. Once it's gone, I put away my phone and get back to my lunch, wanting to change the subject. Anyway, who's going first during practice today? Haruka smiles slightly, clearly appreciating my attempt to bring the conversation away from the festival. Focus on the music, not the festival. The festival is just a word, it's just a place. It's the music that really matters. Whoever needs more help, I guess. What do you mean? We could both use some help. Hoping to make her laugh, I put on a comedically exaggerated, self-deprecating tone. Alright, that'll be me then. She hums a small giggle and I feel a slight sense of relief. An extra air of authority. His serious, focused demeanour, despite his usual grin, seems to exaggerate how auspicious this week really is. Alright, listen up everybody. We all know what week this is, and I'm happy to say that I'm very pleased with your progress, both as a group and as individuals. Yes. He looks over the assemble as he says this, and catches my eye encouragingly for a moment as he does so. I get a little shock of embarrassment, but it doesn't last. Needless to say, our work isn't over yet. The festival is on Friday, which means we've got 4 full days left to really make sure that we have every detail of this piece locked down and to perfection. And perfect. With your work ethic so far, I'm not worried. But let's stay focused, okay? It's like the Olympics. You could be flawless in your practices, but when it comes down to the actual day, you may slip up. And that is the one time you don't want to slip up. There's a ripple of agreement throughout the group, and Kudo-sensei adjusts his glasses, looking businesslike. Now, as with every year, there's going to be a stage rehearsal on Wednesday in the auditorium. This will give us and the stage technicians a chance to map out everything we need, microphone-wise, and we'll be able to organise our entry, exit, and on-stage formation. Yes, if the keys are facing to the left, towards the left of the stage, then that means Kudo-sensei will be facing this way, which means his mark will be invisible. I'm just thinking about that. Almost everybody around me nods with a familiarity, having heard his speech before, and as I listen to Kudo-sensei describe the stage rehearsal, I feel as though a rock slowly drops into my stomach. I don't like the sound of this. Could it just not be a little pebble? Judging by what he's saying, we're going to be practicing our walk on and off the stage, and essentially running our mock performance in front of the technicians, who will adjust the audio setup to make us sound good through the speakers. It all makes sense as something that needs to be done. Exactly. You don't try and tune all of this on the day. No. You want all of the technicalities to be done a few days in advance. Technicalities. But the thought of it fills me with trepidation as well as going to be a real performance. It's only a practice run, but, well, I think I just don't know what to expect having never done this before. I'm sure he's not going to just send you in there into the complete abyss of nothingness and expect you to know what to do. It's like being dropped somewhere into a survival scenario and you don't know what food is good for you and which food is poisonous for you. I don't feel comfortable with the idea of a bunch of random strangers suddenly descending on our practice with microphones and other equipment, examining us closely, but it needs to be done. I've never been to the school's auditorium before, but I don't think I'm 100% sure on which building it is. Before I can talk myself out of my stress, Kudo-sensei finishes his speech and asks us to start a run-through on Air G string. Opening my sheet music, getting my fingers into position hurriedly, I realise I'm just going to have to squash my feelings until later. Right now, I've got a job to do. Kudo-sensei raises his baton and gives us a signal, and we begin to play. I do my best to just embrace the moment, and do my part as if nothing is different, although I feel like there is an audible tension to my playing. To make things worse, about a third of the way through the piece, I'm shocked by my phone suddenly vibrating in my pocket, jolting my leg unexpectedly. Damn it, I also almost messed up. Fights to keep my concentration on the task at hand, I sigh and make a mental note to check where the notification is when I've got a free moment. At least had it been loud. Yeah, exactly, that would have been bad. Just an extra encore onto the piece. The rest of the group session goes without any further phone-related jump scares, and as Kudo-sensei dismisses us for free practice, I check whatever I'd missed earlier, swiftly seeing that it's a text from my mom. Apparently she's called Haruka's mom, and the two of them had a lengthy chat, resulting in her calling the school and buying tickets for the festival, spurred on by whatever mom had said. I guess she did manage to work some magic after all. Parents are magical in their own ways, they can make miracles happen. I wonder how Haruka will react when I tell her this. I know they'll probably give her mixed feelings, but hopefully she'll still be pleased. As I slip my phone back into my pocket, I look up to see the four boys I practiced with coming over, dragging their music stands and belongings behind them. I shoot from a nod and they all sport excited grins. As I said in previous videos, just for once, Kakeru, could you just shoulder the piano onto your back and go over to them? I'm kidding, by the way. Alright, Kakeru, looking forward to the festival. I'm pumped, now that it's only a few days away. I smile nervously, hoping that I don't look as terrified by the prospects as I feel. Yeah, I'm excited. Can you tell by my voice and my smile? Actually, you two have never done a performance or a stage rehearsal, have you? He gestures towards both me and club member 4 who joined this year, and we both shake our heads. Fine, number 3 then. Nope, what's the rehearsal like? Does it take a long time? Nah, it's not that bad. We mostly just stand there and play the piece a bunch of times, while the technicians change the sound levels and adjust a microphone every now and then. It's pretty boring, really. Yeah, but on the day, all that boringness will actually matter. The two boys who are well versed in the school's festivals gives us a basic overview of how the stage rehearsal usually goes, and in a way it starts to seem a little less intimidating. Apparently there aren't that many technicians who get involved, due to the fact that the music club performs every year in a very similar formation each time, so they've worked out routines and templates on how everything needs to be by now. That's a little comforting, though I'm still not overjoyed by the idea. After filling us in, the boys drop the subject and we follow suit, putting our focus onto the only thing that we can do right now to prepare us for the day. Practice. Hello, Haruka! She turns and greets me as I close the door, and to my slight disgruntlement, I see that she seems a little down. Not again, please! Are you okay? She looks a little annoyed with herself for letting her emotions show so clearly on her face, but doesn't keep me in the dark. Kudo-sensei came in here earlier to tell me about the stage rehearsal on Wednesday. He was a bit intimidating, abrupt, to the point, stern. Well, he kept insisting that I really had to do it since I've come this far this time. I can understand why it's made her feel more nervous. I'd felt the exact same way hearing about the rehearsal just now. He mentioned it to us too. I don't really know what to think about it. You've done one before, haven't you? She nods, casting her mind back. 2. The first 2 years I made it to rehearsal. Not since then though. Her shoulders droop a little, as though she's ashamed of herself. I can't imagine that being reminded of those troubling times feels good for her at all. Well, I do have some good news, I guess. Want to divert another potential low mood for her, I try to change the subject and bring up what my mum had texted me in the middle of practice. I realise I can't press anything with my arms across. Oh, what's that? Our mums already talked. Sometime in the afternoon, Mum texted me and said they had a long chat and that she enjoyed it a lot. Haruka's face brightens a little upon hearing this. Oh, that's nice. I'm sure my mum enjoyed it too. I don't think she really talks to that many people outside of our family. No, my parents are the same. I gaze at Haruka, trying to gauge what her reaction might be if I tell her the rest of my news. She seems a little iffy in general, but I feel as though it might still have the positive result I'm hoping for. So I go ahead anyway, mentally crossing my fingers. There's something else as well. Apparently after chatting, your parents decided to buy their festival tickets in the end. I think they've got them now. Haruka's eyebrows arc in surprise as she regards me. Really? They actually brought them? There's a hint of disbelief in her voice as she asks me this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think my mum said something about them all going together to support us. I guess they thought it was a good idea. That's... Come on, Haruka. Come on now. Let that be a positive thing, not a negative thing. And don't you ever dare say that you're a freak or a disappointment. Everyone has their own demons to deal with on a day-to-day basis. She pauses for a moment, seeming to be turning the matter over in her mind, and then looks more directly at me, her expression shifting to become more optimistic. There we go, I'm really surprised. I didn't think my parents wanted to. She looks a little vulnerable, but visibly begins to process that her parents do want to support her in person, and evidently have faith in her ability to perform after all. Please thank your mum for me. She must have been really nice on my behalf. I'm sure her parents didn't need that much persuading, but yeah, I'll say thanks anyways. She nods, and comes over a little more relaxed now that she knows that her parents will be at the festival. I guess the fact is providing more comfort than worry for her, which I'm glad about. Her expression grows almost amused as she contemplates something. I bet Mom's excited to go somewhere with her friend's parents too. We've not really had that much. While she doesn't get upset about it, a poignant glint appears in her eyes, and I emphasize completely. Did you not have many friends when you were younger then? Not really. I had a few here and there over the years, but they always seemed to disappear after a while. No. It's not because you're disabled. People under situations have to move far away, and unfortunately they forget to ask about your number and stuff like that, or any way to contact you. It's not the fact that you're disabled. And actually, putting the word disabled on a person seems and feels like unable, which is not the case, but it has to be classified as that because every kind of learning difficulty and physical and mental disability all has to be umbrellaed under the same umbrella, essentially. And I don't think that is the best way of putting it, because it's like you're putting a spanner on somebody as if they are unable to achieve anything in life. It's not because you're disabled, Haruka. It probably felt weird for them to spend too much time around me. It's not. She trails off looking pensive, and a wave of sympathy rushes over me. They always tend to just phase me out in the end, but I understand how it happens, so I'm not mad. That's pretty mature of her to have that perspective. Anyway, I guess that doesn't matter so much now since we're friends. She regards me with a small smile, and I find myself mirroring it. It's very true that any half-baked friendship I've experienced before now pales in comparison to what Haruka and I have shared over the last couple of months. I should probably count myself lucky to have enjoyed any of it after all. Yeah. We smile at each other wordlessly for a moment, freed temporarily from our festival worries, and are real in the feeling before Haruka regains a more focused expression. Anyway, I guess we should practice, right? It's only inevitable that we've got to put our minds back onto it. Okay, shall I go first? Sure. I head across to a piano, setting up my sheet music, but before I can sit down, a thought pops into my head. By the way, if you find out what seats your parents have got on their tickets, I can give you an idea of where they'll be in the auditorium if you want. I remembered just now that, during her breakdown last week, one of the biggest upsets that had been that she wouldn't be able to see me watching her performance. Now that her parents would be there too, I realised that she'd probably appreciate having at least a vague mental picture of where they'll be sitting on that night. It might give her a little comfort to know if she looks in that direction, even if she can't see them. They'll be there. Oh, yeah, actually, that'd be good. I'll let you know what they are when I find out. Cool. She gazed towards me gratefully. Thanks, Kakeru. Knowing that it probably means more to her than she's letting on, I feel somewhat satisfied that I can help, even if it's only by a little. It's not little. It's not little. It's a massive amount of help. Hi, Kakeru. You alright? She nods wordlessly, seeming a little pensive, although she doesn't appear to be particularly down. I guess the proximity of the festival is just both. It's taken a toll on both of us, rendering us unable to be giddy or fully relaxed, even if our moods aren't that bad in general. Where do you want to eat? She contemplates it for a moment, seeming a little conflicted. Actually, I was wondering, could we maybe go to the CD room for a bit? Good idea. That's a surprise request, but considering that both of us are almost constantly stressed at the moment, a quiet, undisturbed hideaway would be nice. Sure, I don't mind. Okay, we can just spend a little while in there if you want, and then come back out and eat. I'm about to agree to this plan when I remember that, during the odd solo trip I've made to the CD room, I've actually eaten my lunch in there. You know, I've eaten the CD room before. I know we're not supposed to. Hey, don't go breaking rules, okay? You did? I almost laughed at her expression, seeming particularly horrified that I would bash much the sanctity of a CD room, and particularly mischievous as though she was to get in on the sneaky feast herself. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, it's a big deal. And I sat at the back of the room, away from any equipment, in case I split anything. Haruka turns the idea over in her head, seeming genuinely stuck in a moral conundrum, and this time it does make me chuckle. It's okay, Haruka. You don't have to lower yourself down to my level of delicacy. The jesting comment breaks out on her thoughts, and we both exhale a quiet laugh. Apparently, it's enough to help her reach a decision. No, it's okay. I'll join you in your rule breaking this time. Damn it! Becoming freshly forged partners in crime, we head upstairs to the library. Lovely. This is going to be the one time where somebody else is going to come in here and notice them both eating. We made sure that the coast was clear as we entered the CD room, closing the door and shutting ourselves into our secret haven. I rearranged our usual chairs so that we wouldn't be near the stereo or anything else electrical when we ate our food. When Haruka suggested we put on some music, we decided not to remind ourselves too much of the festival, and chose a random selection of pieces instead. Now perching onto our seats and eating our lunch, I look across at her with a smirk. So, how does it feel to be a troublemaker then? She finishes a mouthful of food with a amused expression before replying. It's kind of fun, actually. Damn these pair of troublemakers. We giggle quietly, and then she gains a look of realization. Oh, I meant to tell you. I asked Mum about the tickets she bought last night. I'd forgotten. I asked her to let me know what numbers their seats are. I don't know what your mum said to the school, but she must be pretty persuasive. What do you mean? Well, Mum told me that once she agreed to buy tickets for her and Dad, your Mum offered to help them get good seats. Oh my god, that is persuasive! What did she do? I think she had a word with whoever's in charge of the tickets, and essentially added my parents to her booking, asking if whoever had booked the seats next to yours would be willing to swap with my parents. What? Mum didn't tell me this when she texted, and all she said when I got home last night was that she had a lovely talk with Haruka's mum and persuaded her to buy tickets. I wasn't aware of any string pulling. But this makes sense considering that it's nice that both pairs of parents gets to know each other. I know I was really surprised, but apparently the couple next to your parents didn't actually have any kids who are participating in the performance. They just like to watch the festival every year, so they don't seem to mind moving back to give your parents of performances closer seats. This takes a moment to compute, and then I realised both the fortunate nature of the circumstances and the embarrassing ones. Well, that's great, but I bet whoever was on the other end of the phone hates my mum for making them change all of that. She must have sounded like such a snob. I was just thinking that. Haruka laughs, while I grimace in a silent apology to the faceless person for being on the receiving end of my mum's insistent wrath. Aww, have more faith in your mother. She can make magic happen. In a way, it's like magic. However, once I stop cringing, I have to acknowledge the fact that having our parents sit together is a decent outcome. Exactly. Anyway, yeah, that's good, though. Makes it easier. I already know where my parents are sitting, so tomorrow I can just show you where that row is, and you'll know that all four of them will be there. Yeah, okay. She nods, and with the matter apparently settled, we go back to our food. However, as we eat in silence for a moment, her relaxed demeanour seems to start slipping as she grows tense. I guess talking about the festival and rehearsal tomorrow has summoned the trepidation of it all back into the forefront of her mind. The fear is just unavoidable by this point. Are you... I want to console her, but in a way, it's almost impossible to avoid the subject. So I might as well just talk about it. Are you going to do the rehearsal tomorrow? I ask because I know that, despite Kudo-sensei's insistence and Haruka's own willpower, she's bound to be doubting herself. She stumbles over her words for a moment, clearly as conflicted as I'd imagined, and then goes silent for a few seconds. I give her the time that she needs to answer, knowing how horrible it is to be put on the spot, especially about something as weighty as this. I'm not sure. Her response hangs in the air in a somewhat damning way, and neither of us speak. The tension continues to grow, not as a barrier between us, but enveloping us both in the same feelings. Our fears and anxieties are extremely similar. Then Haruka suddenly becomes agitated. Sorry. I almost jump slightly, mildly alarmed by a panic. Why are you apologizing? At my interjection, she calms herself down again, her whole body snagging under the weight of her mental burdens and sighs heavily. I've been really scared since yesterday. I've kinda... Her brow creases, as though she's punishing herself internally. I thought about dropping out. Don't you dare. I was really getting to her that much. I can understand it, but it's somewhat dreadful to hear her say it. I'm not going to, though. Well, I'll keep trying anyway. That's a relief, although I know that her courage must be pretty badly diminished by this point, so I can't guess how much longer she might be able to hold out. I could say the same about myself. I'm glad you're still going to give it a go. She nods, knee-deep in thought, and her gaze wanders over to the opposite side of the room. I think you being here is helping. You're going tomorrow, right? With my own question flipped back onto me, I also feel a shock of panic for a second before I crush it. Yeah, I guess so. I am almost no longer in control of my actions when it comes to the festival. I'm put on autopilot. I'm so worried that I'll freak out if I think about it too hard, that I'm just trying to let myself get swept along with the tide of what everybody else is doing. A piece of terrified driftwood. Exactly. If you're going, but I'm sure I can too. I've done it twice before. Anyway, so... It should be okay. Exactly, it is okay. You're going to be just fine, Haruka. In fact, more than fine. You're going to be spondific. Despite the almost bewildered look in her eyes, she nods decisively, as if trying to convince herself that what she's asking of herself is completely reasonable and easy. This was once an improbable dream. It is no longer impossible or improbable. Since I know that it wouldn't take much of either of us to lose our nerve, I try to accept her apparent resolve to go through with tomorrow's rehearsal successfully, and inherit it for myself. However, there is one thing that's nagging at the back of my mind that I can't help but mention. You know, you don't have to push yourself just because of me. If you don't want to do this anymore, don't feel like you have to, just because we said we'd do it together. Come on, Kakeru, don't you dare put seeds of doubt into her mind. I know we essentially made a promise, but I hate to see her end up having another breakdown just because she feels obligated to keep going on because we said we would. It would be so disappointing if she pulled out, but I also don't want her to wreck herself because of me. She seems to understand what I've said this, but looks towards me with a slight upset look. No, I want to push myself. She bows her head slightly in embarrassment at how loudly she'd spoken, wrapped up in her emotions. I just mean, well, sometimes I wish that my parents were a little more firm with me. I love them, and I really appreciate how they don't force me to do anything I don't want to do, and give me as much space as I need. They really understand me. It's just that sometimes I feel like I do a little better when things like this if someone pushed me, at times when I can take it. I'm sort of taken aback by her statement, although I guess I can comprehend what she means. It's horrible to have someone insisting that you need to be doing this and that, constantly insinuating that you're not good enough. But if they encourage you in a positive way, and keep gently challenging your will, then it's probably helpful, actually. I guess Haruka is a tiny bit more confident than me, and wants that sort of attention when she feels like she can benefit from it. That's why it's good that you're here, because knowing that you're going to try makes me want to try harder too. We don't really even need to do anything to help. I just like trying to get that motivation from having a friend doing the same thing, if that makes sense. It does. That part makes perfect sense to me. She's essentially just described exactly what I get from her too. It was thanks to the first hints of our blooming friendship that caused me to stay in the music club, until I decided to stay for my own reasons. It's definitely because of Haruka's influence I'm currently 3 days away from a public performance, and not just snoring my way through the same old school days like I'm used to, with no music, friendship or optimism in my life. I totally get it. You're helping me in the same way. Her anguish begins to melt away somewhat as I say this, and she almost meets my eyes. Really? Yeah. I'm sorry I questioned your decisions. I know you're determined, and I'll try to be too. Let's keep our promise as best we can. Shall we? Haruka shakes her head, as if dismissing my apology, and to my relief a smile begins to form on her face. Don't say sorry, and yeah, let's do it. We regard each other warmly, and a sense of comfort washes over us, granting us a slight reprieve of our worries. I'll go to rehearsal tomorrow, and you'll let me know where our parents will be, right? Definitely. I'll find a way somehow. I'm sure we'll be pretty busy, but there's bound to be a moment where I can slip away and find our parents' seats, and tell Haruka how far away from the stage they'll be, and in what direction. I really hope that it will give us some more courage. Thanks, that'll be great. We rest in a peaceful moment and then go back to our food, wary that time is ticking away. However, Haruka fumbles with her chopsticks, having lost her grip on them slightly during our conversation. Oh no! On the ground! No! You! Sense an opportunity to lighten a moment further with some comedy, I take on the voice of a scolding teacher. What are you doing? You're really going off the rails with this, did I can see, you know that? As I hoped, she sees a funny sign and smothers an amused snort as she gazes down towards where she heard the omelette fall. Later in the CD room, I've got a good mind to tell the librarian that there's a hooligan causing trouble here. Don't say it so loudly. She lets our laughter out, shaking slightly as she casts around cluelessly. Where is it? I can't. Relax, I'll get it. I dive onto the floor as Haruka's seat, making a scene of clearing the food off the ground and jokingly chiding her the whole time. As her giggles ring in my ears, I find myself incredibly grateful for the silly moment, amid all of the stress. And I'm sure she appreciates it too. Right everyone, to make sure that you're not home incredibly late tonight, we're just going to do our group practice now, and skip the free practice for this session. As everyone bursts into whispers about the information and begin to worry, not only does this give me less time to mentally prepare myself for whatever rehearsal will hold, but also means that Haruka and I won't get to see each other beforehand. As if mirroring my thoughts, my eye flickered briefly towards Haruka's room in concern. Okay, we'll need to be prompt with our arrival at the auditorium, so let's get started, shall we? The group readies themselves to play, and feeling conflicted and unsettled, but with no other option, I concede and follow suit. I think the only way that you can tell Haruka about this is if you text her when you're walking towards the auditorium that you unfortunately won't be able to make it because... Wait a minute! Haruka will be at the auditorium too, so there's no need to worry about that. Sensei? Ah, Akane, what is it? Could I walk with Fujiwara to the auditorium? He contemplates me thoughtfully for a moment, seeming to read my worries and understanding why I'm asking. After considering the situation, he grins. If it means she'll finally be able to do the rehearsal again, you can carry her there if you like. Oh my gosh, I don't have to go that far. He smirks at his own humour, then grows slightly more serious. No, that's okay, Akane. Just make sure you're not late, though. He almost drops his perplexedly relaxed attitude, eyeing me with a rare, authoritative sternness, and I nod in response, realizing how concerned he must be about the pair of us. I could see why he's worried, given Haruka's track record, and my extreme timidity, and I started to feel bad for a second for being something of a potential problem for him. However, with my agreement to remain punctual, he begins to brighten up again. Alright, I'll see you both over there then. I shoot him a quick, grateful glance and he swings his bag over his shoulder, heading to the front of the group to lead the way. Spur into action, I go in the opposite direction towards the little practice room. Oh, hey, it's me. Regretfully, the sound of my voice makes a jump as we approach each other, evidently having not expected anyone to be there. Oh, Kakeru, you scared me. So I was coming to get you. Kudo-sensei said we could walk together. Oh, well, that's good. I haven't been to your auditorium in years, so I can't remember where it is. Her grip tightens around her flute case tensely. We can walk behind everyone else. If you want, I'll lead the way. A pretty ironic offer, considering that I've never been to a place in my life. But at least I'll be able to follow the group and guide Haruka along the way. She nods slowly in response. Alright, we should, Sensing how bad her nerves are becoming, I try to shake off my own and take the initiative. Though it's very difficult. I've definitely never been here before. We've gone through a sort of tunnel that connects the main school building to this one, which seems to be reserved for the auditorium alone. Emerging into the foyer of the public entrance, we pass a welcome desk and a cloakroom. This is so bizarre. The place I spent so much of my time in is now completely alien to me. As I'm glancing around worriedly, I feel a slight pressure on my arm, and realise that Haruka is walking a little close to me, evidently feeling as adrift as I am. I think we're almost there if I remember. Right. Do my best to swallow the lump in my throat. I follow the group into a side hallway, and after taking a couple of corners, everyone begins to file into a room, slowing down as they all push through the doorway. I guess this might be it. I automatically slow down as my nerves radiate through me, my body naturally moving to shy away from whatever it is on the other side of the door. As my mouth starts to turn dry, I feel myself losing my courage. I don't want to go in there, but I'm not alone here. Haruka is quivering beside me, looking just as terrified as I am, and although the two of us might want to run for the hills right now, we made a promise and vowed to keep it as well as we could. If one of us is going in there, then the other one has to do it too. Turning slightly to behold Haruka as she cowers next to me, I watch as she fidgets with her flute case for a moment, clearly contemplating which room we're about to enter. For a second, I'm not sure what she's going to do. She looks so uncomfortable, but I'm half expecting her to turn tail and bolt out of the building, and if she did, I'm not entirely sure that I wouldn't follow her. However, when she finally manages to get her words out, I'm struck with an odd mixture of trepidation and relief simultaneously as our fate is set. Can you, get the door for me? Sure. Exactly, allowing my obligation to push me towards my fears. I obey, sidling up to the door now that everyone has passed through it. Holding it open for Haruka to enter, I'll let her take her time, and as she makes it shakily through, I take a deep breath and follow. The room we walk into resembles an empty sports hall, or possibly even a dance studio, judging by the mirrors lining one wall. Perhaps it was used for such a purpose, but before it became whatever it is now. From what I can see from my fevered glances, this seems to be the backstage area of the auditorium. I guess that this is where we'll wait while we're preparing to perform. Kudo-sensei is ushering everybody through into the far end of the long room, so I take a few more timid steps behind the mass of people in order to keep up. Haruka does the same, having partially glued herself to my side, again out of anxiety and disorientation. The two of us patter along with uncertainty, casting around and feeling lost in this unfamiliar environment, and then come to a halt as the group does the same. Couldn't Sensei wheels around counting the heads as he ensures that everybody is present and accounted for, seemed to huff with relief when he sees me and Haruka at the back. Regain his bright yet businesslike smile, he raises a voice to address us all. Alright everybody, I'm going to have a quick chat with the director, so if you could stay here and behave yourselves for a moment, that'd be great. He nods with a grin and then heads down to the very bottom end of the corridor-esque room, climbing a short set of stairs. What stairs? He then reaches towards a curtain and swings it aside, disappearing through the gap before it falls back into place behind him. At that moment I realise he's just walked onto the stage. For the brief second that the curtain had been pushed away, I caught a glimpse of some lights, and the suggestion of a much larger room behind them. Oh man, I've never seen a real stage from this perspective before. I mean, I've seen a stage, but I've never been on a perspective where I'm on the stage. The knowledge I'm going to have to follow him and everyone else onto that bright, open platform where there's no escape from the gaze of the spectators caused my hands to start trembling. I guess all that I could fall back on right now is the thing that I've been trying to remind myself all day. It's just a rehearsal. There's no real audience. Yet. With an energetic swish, the curtain flakes back to reveal Kuro-sensei once again, who's swiftly followed by a guy who I assume to be a stagehand or sound engineer. He moves the curtain and attaches it to a wall, creating a clear archway leading to the stage. Okay guys, coming up for a moment. He waves everybody towards stage enthusiastically, his attitude suddenly more buoyant than before. I guess he's just in his element when he's on stage. With a hum of anticipation, the group begins to charge forward, surging towards the stairs and stepping up onto the side of the stage. As the front of a human train disappears out of my sight, my stomach begins to burn as I contemplate the prospect of joining them. Haruka takes in the rumble of footsteps moving away from us, her brow crinkling as she tries to figure out what's going on. Are we going on stage? Yeah. I struggle to insinuate the word, wetting my dry lips as she nods grimly, taking a deep breath and starting to advance slowly towards the stairs, her cane stretched out in front of her in a more extended fashion than usual. For a moment I can't force my legs to move, but then an odd fear being left behind comes over me as Haruka leaves my side. Spurred on by the thought that I better stick with her, I act against my terror's better judgment and lurch forward to be next to her again. Once I catch up, the two of us make must be the most nervous entry to a stage anyone has ever made. As the last of the group reaches the top of the stairs and heads across the wooden floor, we tread cautiously up the steps. I forgot about myself just long enough to watch out for Haruka as she ascends shakily, using her cane to map out the stairs in front of her, and then we reach the upper level. Taking in a gasp of air, I steel myself as we both follow the group to the center of the stage. However, as soon as we break out from underneath the shelter of the curtained wings... I like this. The piano is facing that way. I don't know why I was thinking if the keys were facing towards the left, because if the piano keys were facing towards the left, then towards the right side, then it would be like this. I don't know why I was thinking that, because it had to be opposites. What I said earlier about the piano and all that. The sharp, invasive blanket of illumination coming from the stage lights above immediately drenched us both in a horrible glow, and the shock of it is so physical that I actually flinched backwards for a second. God, it's so bright, I can hardly see! Haruka, naturally undeterred by it, continues to creep her way forward, and for a moment I envy the fact that she isn't affected by this. I guess there are positives in some things, even if there's a lot of negatives about it. And to be honest, I would much rather be blinded than not be able to see at all. The piercing light feels awful to me, like every flaw on my face is highlighted and magnified for all to see in horrifying detail. As I force myself to keep moving, I bring my hand up to my condition, shielding it from view as I go. Trembling clumsily with my head down, I catch up with Haruka as she comes to a stop a few feet behind the group. Everyone has managed to gather together, and now watching Kudo Sensei and a man who must be the director chatted with each other. The director analyzes the size of the group, and then two of them spend a few moments talking about preparations. People begin to have whispered conversations again, and standing at the back with Haruka and lowering my hands slightly now that my eyes are being used to the glare. I dare myself to have a quick look around. I'm not sure if the auditorium is bigger or smaller than I expected, as while it is probably not quite as large as the city theatre had been. It certainly looks pretty canvas from up here in the spotlight. Rows upon rows of pale blue seats spread out across the expanse of the floor level, intimidating enough by themselves. I don't even want to imagine them full of people right now. It seems as though there are lights everywhere, and the sandy wood reflects their beams brightly. A grand piano stands off to our left, very similar to the one I used in the club room. I guess that's my spot for the performance. Unsure of whether I'll be able to stand performing under such terrifying conditions, I turn my head away forcibly to avoid my mind racing any more quickly than it already is. You have a piano seat to sit on, and looking at it, it is positioned perfectly so that your condition is over here, not visible. So what I said earlier about them being facing to the left is wrong. They have to be facing to the right, because you're facing to the left. Looking at Haruka instead, I can see that, unlike everybody else, her gaze is fixed squarely on her feet, and I can feel the waves of anxiety practically rippling through the air around her, merging with mine. Wanted to say something to her, but feeling unable to do anything other than hold my own weight up right now. I stay quiet in shame. After another minute of deliberating, Kudo Sensei turns back to us all as a whole. Alright, what we're going to do is have the group performance rehearsal first. Our main job is to help the engineers set up the equipment we need, so we'll be playing through the piece a few times. After that we practice our stage entrance and exit. If you could all go to your usual positions, or as close an approximation as you can in this space, that'd be a great start. He raises eyebrows at everyone, and they all scattered, locating where they should stand. I feel my muscles tighten, as I realise I'm included in this too. Turning to Haruka, I urge myself to mumble out a few words. I guess you'll go afterwards. Yeah, I'll listen to you play. I'm about to step away reluctantly, but she pipes up again, her voice a little higher with fear. You'll listen to me too? Yeah, I'll be here. We can leave together at the end, right? She nods with big movements, evidently trying to pin some courage on the fact that the two of us are both doing this, and that at the end of this ordeal, we'll be able to leave school like we usually do, as if it's just a regular day. I attempt to take some consolation from it myself, and before either of us can speak again, Kudo Sensei approaches us, buzzing with energy, though he looks a little concerned as he regards us. Fujiwara, you can just have a rest for now, while we get this done. Would you like to wait in the seating area, or backstage? Okay, how is she going to navigate there? But backstage, please? Alright, take a seat and have a little practice, if you like. You won't bother us from there. She nods and both of us sense that we best get on with what he's asked us to do. With our real chance to say goodbye for now, we separate, Haruka heading back towards the stairs and out of sight, while I grudgingly tread my way towards the piano waiting for me to across the stage. As I go, Kudo Sensei walks alongside me for a moment. This will be a breeze, Akane. Nothing big, just a few run-throughs, while they sort out everything we need. It'll be like an everyday practice. But I'm still terrified. I appreciate the fact that he's trying to make me feel better and a nod to acknowledge his words. As I approach the piano, he shoots a brief smile my way before leaving my side to take his position at the front of the stage as conductor. Finding myself in front of my instrument, I place my sheet music onto its stand on autopilot, feeling as though my limbs are moving on their own accord. Once I'm settled onto the stool, my body tenses with dread. After a moment of sitting there and gazing at my own warped reflection in the dark wood of the piano, I realise that something's calling my name, and look up to see the boys I practice with shooting me encouraging grins and giving me the thumbs up. Seeing them makes me realise guiltily that I've probably abandoned them somewhat today, having spent all my time so far stuck to Haruka, like a pair of conjoined twins. I'll have to try and talk to them at some point. I do my best to smile back at them, grateful for the reassurance conveyed in their eyes. We can't chat right now, but if we could, I can imagine them telling me that this rehearsal will be easy and that it's no big deal. Trying to believe them, I calm myself as best as I can, glancing around as several technicians wind their way between some of the other club members, setting up microphones to pick up certain pockets of instruments. At one point, I wince and lower my head awkwardly as one of them tweaks something on a microphone that's pointed under the lid of my piano, my attention uncoiling slightly as he moves away again. After a couple more minutes of this, they congregate at the edge of the stage, and the director signals to Kudo-sensei that he's ready to hear us play. Nerves bunch in my gut as he calls us to attention, and feeling my face turn red with heat. I take shaky breaths and tell myself it's just another practice, and that the technicians and engineers aren't here to stare at me and scrutinize, but simply do a job. Exactly! I watch the graceful movements of Kudo-sensei's baton as he counts us in, and biting my lip, I turn my eyes to my sheet music and come in alongside everybody else. Just play the music. Don't focus on the fact that there are eyes staring at you. Just focus on the music sheet. Focus on you, your performance, your playing. Focus on you. The familiar sound of air on the G-string fills the air, and I do my best to become absorbed in just playing and not think about anything else or anybody else. It's very difficult and my hands continue to tremble as we perform, but I'm just about to manage to keep up. With the run-through comes to an end, I find myself gasping, as though I'd been holding my breath for the entire 4 minutes that we've been playing. Come on man, you need to breathe! I watch as the director and engineers talk with Kudo-sensei, and then a couple more adjustments are made to the microphones. Trying to ignore the activity around me, I avert my gaze from the engineers and look across the stage, back towards the stairs that we entered from. I'd expected to see it empty, so I almost jump a little when I notice that someone is standing there. Haruka. Haruka loiters awkwardly at the top of the steps, still in the wings of the stage, and covered from above by the curtains. For a moment I wonder what she's doing back there, as she was meant to be waiting backstage, but then something occurs to me. She might be wanting to hear us better. She said she'd listen out for me during our rehearsal, but I hadn't expected her to actually come back out and listen properly. I guess she generally wants to encourage me, as well as probably gain some courage herself. As Kudo-sensei orders another run-through, I glance at Haruka one last time before readying my hands over the keys, and take heart in her support. This is a terrifying experience, but if she's listening out for me, then I'm going to play. We run through air on the G-string several times, and to my desperate relief, the whole experience starts to feel a little less harrowing as time goes on. The more you do something, the less terrifying it becomes. The engineers and director don't really interact with us club members at all, mainly talking to Kudo-sensei as they change the setup and volume levels to produce a good sound. Also, after a few runs, the lighting technician gets involved, altering the stage lights from their constant piercing intensity to a softer glow, with muted colours illuminating us more gently to simulate how the stage will be lit during the performance. The slightly dimmer surroundings help us to relax a little more, and on top of that I realise between run-throughs that the way the piano is situated means that it's actually facing the back wall, not visible to would-be the audience as I prayed. Hey now, for a moment I wonder if Kudo-sensei had purposely asked for it to be set up this way, but whether he had or not, I'm very grateful for it. It means that the only time that anyone will see the side of my face is when I first take to the stage. It'll be hidden for the rest of the performance, including our exit. I guess that's the best I could hope for. Haruka's remained at the side of the stage this whole time, listening to her practices. Every time we finish a run-through, I've looked up at her, reminding myself that we're both here to support each other. Eventually, I'm struck with relief when the director tells Kudo-sensei that he thinks everything's set, sighing heavily with feeling in the fact that the hard work and uncomfortable exposure is pretty much over. Good job everyone. The director would like us to just practice our entry and exit, so gather a foot of the stairs and we'll give that a go now, so. As he finished his sentence, the group breaks into a flurry of movement, excited to have something different to do. Startled by the sudden change in the atmosphere, I snatch my music off the stand and hurry to keep up. We trampled back down the stairs, and it takes me a moment to notice that Haruka's no longer there. Once we emerge into the backstage room, I spot her sitting at the end of the line of chairs against the wall, her belongings around her, and her flute in her hand. I guess she must have realized she'd better get out of the way upon hearing Kudo-sensei instruct us. I'd like to talk to her, but I suppose I'll get that chance after we've done this. Turning back to face the front, I linger behind everybody else awkwardly, and as people chat animatedly while we all assemble, the boys I practice with push their way towards me with friendly expressions. "Hey Agni, you did good out there. Told you it was easy, didn't I?" As they surround me, I nod with a shy grin, and one of them regards me with slight concern. "Are you nervous about Friday?" "Of course. I don't think any combination of words in any language could adequately express how nervous I am." "Yeah." The boys look at me with empathy, and the one who joined the club a few months before pipes up. "I am too. I've never formed with a club before, but I think it'll be quite good." The others nod enthusiastically, seeming at ease with the whole situation. "Oh yeah, it's totally fine once you get up there and start playing. It's pretty fun actually." The three of them regale us less experienced boys with stories from previous festivals, emphasizing how much they enjoyed themselves, and how the school has praised the club for its hard work. It does feel slightly overwhelming, but I still appreciate hearing the festival being spoken about in such a casual, anecdotal way, as though it's not the huge deal that it's in my mind. But for first timers it obviously is, and I understand completely. In other experiences, after they run out of stories to tell, they turn to a pair of us with grins. And we've got you two this year, so it's going to be even better. We can go out and have that celebratory drink at the weekend. Everyone cheers, and both me and the other newish boys smoke bash me. I don't know what I've done to become accepted by this group of guys, sharing a passion and being a generally nice person, and treated like an equal, but it does give me an odd pleasant feeling in my chest. Before we can say anything else more, Kudo-sensei blows us to quieten down, as the noises have got rather loud, everybody giddy about the rehearsal being almost over for us. After instructing us on how to enter our performance and stick as closely to our on-stage formation as possible while walking, we grow silent and wait for our cue. From our position at the stairs, we hear the director pretend to address a non-existent crowd introducing our club and the piece we're going to play. When the lights go down, somebody lets out a silly hyperactive squeal in the fit of dumb exhilaration. "That's enough of that, thank you." The whole group giggles, and even Kudo-sensei chuckles to himself, rolling his eyes before everyone else grows silent again. Everyone goes silent again. As our cue to take the stage arrives, he leads us up the stairs, brimming with vigor, as though it's a real performance. We create a grumbling drone with the sound of our footsteps as we all tread across the wood and take our positions. This time it doesn't feel quite so bad to walk underneath the bright lights, somewhat used to it by now. Everybody picks up their instruments as though we're about to start playing, and then the director comes back onto the stage and announces us to the imaginary audience once more, as though we've just finished the piece. We start to move again, remain our formation as we cross the stage, and then trample back down into the backstage area hurriedly, concluding our exit. As we all spill into the room clumsily, Kudo-sensei claps his hands, seemingly satisfied. "Alright, I think that's everyone for the group rehearsal. Please stick around though, as I want to talk to all of you once we're finished. We'll just set up the other performance. It won't take it very long." Realizing he's referring to Haruka, I whip around to look for her. As everyone starts to chatter, seeing her at the other side of the room, stand up from her seat, I scurry over to her, let her know that it's me. "Kakeru, I heard you. You did well." Reminding that she'd listened at the side of the stage for pretty much the whole rehearsal, I nod gracefully. "Yeah, I saw you from the piano." A look of worry crosses her face as I say this. "Oh, I didn't realize you could see me. I wasn't in the way, was I?" "You wasn't. No, you're right at the side of the stage. I don't think anyone else noticed you." Her shoulders lowered a little with relief, but as the two of us catch Kudo-sensei mention Haruka's performance to the director from across the room, she bristles again, terrified. Now that her turn has come, sorry. Wanting to console her in any way that I can, I speak quickly before she's ushered away. It wasn't so bad up there. After a while, you know, and you only have one instrument for them to set up, so you'll probably be done in no time. She nods, although she seems somewhat unconvinced. I know that it's because every fibre of her body is wants to run the opposite direction instead. I felt exactly the same way. I hated every moment of it, but once I spent a little time getting used to it, I managed to put up with the discomfort and bumble through. I'm sure Haruka can do the same, especially since she's done it before, a bait quite a while ago. She scuffles in place nervously and tries to say something to me, but her fear won't let it come out. Trying to think of something else to say, I remember my promise. Okay, I'll go out into a seating area too, while you're rehearsing, and show you where our parents will be. She looks up at this, her face a picture of dread, although there's a small hint of optimism of what I've said. Yeah, I can sense that she's unable to make herself speak anymore, so don't push her to The wave of fear that's coming from her almost makes my own stomach start to clench, despite my challenge being over. I wish I could do more for her, but Kuro-sensei approached us with a hopeful expression on his face, so I quickly tell her that the only other piece of support I can offer. I'll watch your whole rehearsal, like you did with me. Rattled, she simply nods again, and turns slightly to face Kuro-sensei as he arrives, having heard his footsteps. Alright Fujiwara, let's have a quick play of your piece, shall we? The way he speaks to her is almost like an adult trying to coax a young child into doing something he doesn't want to do. It's not condescending, but very noticeable. In a way, he seems to consider her to be more fragile than me, which is a surprise. She fumbles with her flute, sheet music and cane, all bundled haphazardly in her hands, before nodding, the only form of communication that she can muster in her panic-stricken state. Upon seeing how jittery she really is, Kuro-sensei frowns, seeming to feel sorry for her, and then apparently makes up his mind to hurry the process along to make it less of a stress on her. Okay then, let's get it started. He steps back towards the stage slowly, and then Haruka glances briefly in my direction before following him over to the stairs. As I watch her leave, feeling anxious on her behalf, I'm filled with a strong desire to help her to feel more comfortable in any way that I can. I guess that all I can do in that respect is find our parents' seats and watch her from there, making sure that she knows I'm there. However, before I can go anywhere, my practice buddies head over to me once more. Glancing back at Haruka and Kuro-sensei, I realise that they are having some sort of conversation before they get started, so I figure I can chat for a moment. Hey Akane, Fujiwara's really doing it this year, huh? She hasn't done a rehearsal in years. Is she going to perform this time? She really wants to. I hope she does. To my surprise, the boys act with more sympathy and understanding than I had anticipated. I hope she does too. We've never seen her play, but Kuro-sensei says she's good. I think she's been playing the flute for a long time. Hopefully she'll make it this year. Once again, their consideration impresses me. It makes me feel good to know that I'm in a group with people like this. Putting my mind back to my previous thoughts, however, I noticed that Haruka and Kuro-sensei are no longer in the room, and jumped to attention to realise I should deliver my promise. Speaking of Fujiwara, I said I'd help her with something. Do you know how to get to the seating area from here? I was about to brush off and realised I have no clue to where to go. Oh yeah, you see that door over there by the mirrors? He points to the line of mirrors attached to the wall, and peering over people's heads, I managed to spy the door that he's talking about. Just go out there, it'll take you into the side of the stalls. Cool, thanks. Catch you later then. Glad that they understand, I nod with an awkward smile as I dash over to the door, leaving the front of the backstage room behind. As I emerge into the auditorium, I automatically feel pretty awkward about being here. I wind my way around the corner into the room, probably stepping between the rows of seats, that they look very different now, but I'm down here among them. I glance upwards, noticing that Haruka is standing in the middle of the stage. The microphones from the group performers have been moved aside. Kuro-sensei giving her some sort of pep talk while an engineer sets up a single microphone in front of her. Looking around at the other engineers, it seems as though most of them are simply doing their job, so I take it as a sign that I'm probably going to go unnoticed. As I get a better view of the stage, I see that a chair has been set out for Haruka to prop her cane against, so that she can put it down and pick it up with relative ease as she traverses the stage. Her sheet music is set up to the side, enabling her to check anything that she wants to clarify one last time before she plays. As Kuro-sensei and the engineer continues to fuss around her, I turn my attention to the seat numbers, trying to locate our parents' seats. After hopping over a few rows, I find them, the last 4 seats on the aisle end of a row almost halfway back, but not bad after all, and would give everyone a decent view of the festival. Standing in front of them, as though claiming them as my own, I turn back to watch what's going on. After a moment, the engineer finishes up setting up the microphone, and both he and Kudo-sensei retreat to the side of the stage to talk to the director. Sensing this might be the only chance I'll get, I call up to Haruka as softly as I can, while still allowing her to hear me. It takes me a couple of tries, trying not to draw too much attention to myself, until she picks up on the sound of my voice. Kakeru? Her voice comes out like a petrified squeak, and I fight my embarrassment as I try to project my own slightly to better reach her. I'm here. I'm in our parents' seats. Can you hear me? She follows the sound with her eyes, gazing over towards me with relative accuracy, considering that she has no idea how big the room actually is. Perhaps bolstered slightly due to the fact that everyone is outside of the stage, she speaks up. You sound closer than I thought you would. They're quite good seats. They'll be able to see and hear us well. She nods, seemingly glad, and takes a moment to stare in my direction pointedly, probably in an attempt to fix my position in her mind so that she can remember it on the night. Noticing that Kudo-sensei is heading back over to her, I called up to her again. I'm going to watch you play from here. Her fear stealing her ability to speak once more, she nods again. As Kudo-sensei instructs her to begin a run-through of her piece, I root myself to the spot and hope that no one pays me any attention as I link here. Kudo-sensei moves off to the side, watching her with bated breath, and as I hold my own, Haruka takes a long moment to steady herself, visibly struggling with her nerves. Eventually she brings her flute up to hold her mouth and begins to play shakily. Her notes falter slightly as her breath withers, but she does manage to perform some of Venus. I notice that she is not playing the whole thing as she would in practice, but is jumping around from section to section, probably out of anxiety. However, she pushes herself through it, and I watch, silently fulfilling my end of the bargain as she does so. Thank God she hasn't had a meltdown. The longer she plays, the more relieved I become, knowing that she's going to come out of the other side after all. As I speculate the rehearsal, the director stops her just once and allow an engineer to set up a second microphone to better capture the sound of her flute. Other than that, it goes very smoothly, and as Kudo-sensei had suggested, it doesn't take nearly as long as ours had. Once everyone is satisfied, the director tells her and Kudo-sensei to practice their entrance and exit, so they head back towards the stairs. For a moment, I wonder why Kudo-sensei is necessary for this, but then I realise that it's because it's his appointed job to escort her on and off the stage as a visual guide. He strides alongside Haruka awkwardly, offering his arm to her, and she rests her hand on it. Embarrassment and her cheeks a nice shade of puce. Yeah, I'd be the same if I had to be that close to Kudo-sensei too. They practice positioning Haruka in front of the microphones, and then they exit the stage on the director's command. It's at this point that I realise it's over, and I'm free to head backstage again. Ducking out of the light clumsily, I skitter back towards the door I'd come in through. As I re-enter the noisy room, closing the door behind me, I make my way over to the stage stairs, where Kudo-sensei is currently detangling himself from a pink-faced Haruka. He returns her sheet music to her and gives her strong words of praise for going through with rehearsal. I hang back until he's finished, and when he turns to address the director who's just descended to the stairs behind him, I head over to Haruka, so glad that she's made it back in one piece. Hey, it's me. Good job out there. I watched the whole thing. She takes a few deep breaths, seeming suddenly exhausted, and to be honest, I feel somewhat tired myself. I guess pushing ourselves pretty close to our limits takes a big toll on us physically as well as mentally. But thanks for being here. I can't believe I managed it. She looks so depleted that it wouldn't surprise me if she fell over, though I can tell that she's incredibly relieved that the ordeal is finished. Shall we sit down? She nods, and I guide her over to the chairs, taking her back to where she'd left her bag and flute case. She plops down ungracefully, putting her things away lethargically. Although once she's got everything together, she looks towards me with a slightly lighter expression. I feel like I'll sleep for days now. I know that feeling. Are you glad you did it? I ask because of how ragged she seems, but I'm comforted somewhat when she nods more genuinely. A small smile begins to grow on her face, though it's a drained one. Yeah, I am. At least I've got this far. She nods herself, seeming to be both relieved and proud that she tackled the rehearsal better than she probably thought she would. And you too. You both did it. Her words made me realise that, in my focusing on her, I neglected to congratulate myself on my own perseverance. Indeed, I did do it. The two of us successfully completed our stage rehearsals, leaving no more challenges before the final performance. I guess I do have something good to tell my parents when I get home. Yeah, somehow. I put a little half-joking, half-serious bewilderment into my voice, and she exhales a quiet laughter. Before either of us could say anything more, Kudo-sensei asks for everyone's attention, and as the room grows hush, the two of us stand up. Now, well done everyone. That was a good rehearsal. I just want to let you know what's going on tomorrow and Friday, time-wise. Tomorrow will be a regular day, then on Friday, we'll gather a group room at the usual time. We'll just have a few run-throughs to make sure we're ready, and then head straight to the auditorium. No full practice. A few heated murmurs hit the air, and my stomach clenches a little as I process the fact that we'll be jumping almost straight into the performance after school on Friday. At least tomorrow's normal, I guess. Remember your formation for entering and exiting the stage, as we won't be able to go through that here again. Other than that, I want you all to just keep doing the good work that you're doing, and stay well practiced at home as much as you can. Yeah, I don't have a piano, and I can't exactly carry one. With a satisfied smile and a nod, he regards us all like a proud father. Alright, off you go. At his words, the room explodes into frenzied activity, as everyone heads for the door at once, glad to be able to go home at last. Naturally, Haruka and I wait until the main crush had died down and then choose a quiet moment to exit the room. Okay folks, I think that is far enough into this as we're going to be going on this very day and age. Things have definitely turned a more emotional way, but differently this time around. It was very teary in the last episode, but this is more of emotions of apprehension and anticipation and preparation. But thank you so much for watching, guys. This has been Venus Improbable Dream for the moment, and we shall see each other's in the next time, when we're most likely going to be doing the on-stage performance, and Haruka and Kakeru will be both performing wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for watching, and take care of yourselves.